that will bring.
What is it? What are the allegations?
The allegations.
They're investigating. They haven't come up with a charge at this point.
Right. They have not. Right. They have not. Yes. Rick is correct.
I see.
As always.
So, with that being said, Eric, what you're suggesting is that the distrust of this one man justifies eliminating the public safety of your community, because, and I think you don't like him either personally, but putting that aside, you think that there's not another police officer out there in the world that could maybe do his job and be honorable?
Nope, that's not what I'm getting at, Michael. Let me redefine. No, I am basing the sole reason for the voters to vote in the police department because there's been a division in my community caused by the creation of the police department originally, when the voters originally voted it down when it was put to a ballot of the voters, and the voters voted no, but the elected officials gave them the police department anyway. And for over a decade and a half, my township has been very divided over the issue of should we have had a police department or not, and should we be paying for one when we didn't really want one in the first place? And so, but the wording of the original ballot language was funky. He didn't ask them if they wanted a police department. He just asked them if they wanted to pay an additional millage to have an increased police department, not do you want one or not. And so my language going to the ballot moving forward is to state, does the township even want a police department, yes or no, considering 2 years ago the state of Michigan considered my township to be the fourth safest community in the whole state of Michigan.
With a police department, though?
It's a two-man police department, so it's only part-time. And
because everybody's got a gun, right? That's why, Eric, is that the next thing that's going to come out of your mouth? Get a gun and your community's safe because people know they'll get shot.
Good
and there's no police here to come find it anyway, so just bury the body.
I gotta tell you, though, I mean, anybody in my neck of the woods of this community would tell you that you just wouldn't go break into someone's house. You would get shot. That's a very high probability. So it doesn't happen here very much. Only when people are gone. When people leave their houses to go to work every day, that's when their house gets broken into and stuff gets stolen. But other than that, we have pretty much low crime.
Other than the people breaking into the house?
It's like the Everglades in Florida, or like the bayous in, where like it's just some you walk in the wrong town. You guys are just going to shoot them and kill them and bury them in the backyard or something, throw them in a river, let an alligator chew on them. I get it. That's the gun.
Right.
It's encouraged. That's safety. Like, don't come into this town.
Right.
You don't leave.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
No, but
give me a hard time.
That is funny though.
So is there I don't know. What is the issue for what do you think the issue for you to win is, and answer that quickly, and then tell people where they can send money, and then we're done. It's okay.
Let's get the money thing out of the way first of all.
Sure.
You can donate to my campaign by going to electgunnels.com /donate, and it's really easy. It's a crowd pack. You just simple electronic donation on there. What do I need to do to win this election? Besides, get more money and pay for more ads and more signs and more stuff, because that's ultimately how it is done in our, monetary system. Is you got to pay for that advertisement. All the money that I receive in donations goes solely into advertisements and nothing else. I don't put it in my pocket. I don't pay for my gas. Nothing. It just goes directly into printed materials. Mostly signs and other things. So, the main thing is just getting that out, getting vocal, getting visible to the public, knocking on doors. We're doing that too. But there is, there's thousands and thousands of residents in my community spread out amongst a rural community. That means, you got to drive up someone's, 100-foot driveway, and then you got to, back out the 100-foot driveway, drive over 600 feet and go to the next house. You can't just walk from door to door.
And if you walk into the backyard by accident, you get shot. So you got to take the longest road around.
Right, you got to be cautious.
It's a lot of work. Right.
You got to be cautious.
Don't do
All right, let me ask
you. And as you approach the house, you got to be like, I'm pro gun and pro marijuana.
Yeah.
And usually
yell it loud.
You have like a 2 out of 3 chance of being cool with the owner.
Let me tell you something. I'm going to ask you a question. If I understand what you're doing as a legislature here is that you are an elected official that's been directed to enact legislation that may or may not be in under the theory that's in the best interest of the community. What you've done is you've suggested as a legislature that's tasked with writing laws that in voting on them that you give it back to the community to vote on this. Isn't that right? Is that what's going on?
That is what's going on.
Yeah, the music is very loud.
I'm sorry, I can turn that down a little. Did you hear the question? All right, here you go. You are a legislator that's paid to make decisions or write legislation for your community, have people vote on it, vote for or against it, but it deals with creating legislation. If I understand what you're taking place in the police department is that instead of writing a law and voting a law that would address this issue, you've created a situation where it's going to be on the ballot at this next election or in November. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay.
That is basically correct. And the purpose for doing that, Michael,
let me answer my question.
Because, there's a couple of people with some biases on the board, and we had, and the public was very, very divided about that. Like half the people would come forward and just scream and yell at us and tell us that they don't have a voice, they don't have a vote. The other half would come up and say the board members are biased on issues. Okay, fine. This removes bias. This removes favoritism or personal whatever, and puts it right back in the hands of the voters.
Isn't that kind of pandering, though? I mean, you're supposed to write laws, not put the responsibility of these decisions to someone else. I mean, why? Usually legislatures are against initiatives.
It's not a normal situation up there, though.
It's pandering. I'm calling it pandering, Eric. No. Pandering. Just kidding.
But let me just tell you this. Call it what you want. My community has very much rejoiced over the idea of this, and they have even some of my most staunch haters, I guess you could say, have given me props and respect. So I'm getting praise from both sides, the people who want the police department and the people who don't want the police department. Everybody is happy now because they will have a voice and a say-so come November. I equate that with the same ability to vote on laws like marijuana. And when the voters go to the voting polls of the state of Michigan, I expect them to vote to legalize marijuana and vote yes. And just like I expect my voters to go to the voting polls and vote whatever they want for this police department, whatever it may be, and I'm going to be neutral on that because I don't want to I want to be disrespectful to my community. I want to let them have the total voice without influence by their trustees.
And if I understand things, you've also introduced legislation so that in place of where the police department is, they enact a gigantic statue of you. Is that right?
Yes.
No.
Donald's Park. It'll be good. You're really good.
Yeah, definitely. There is no doubt about it. Just my words and just the act of putting it to the voters will definitely be remembered for a long time.
Well, there you go. I think it actually calls for somebody introducing some legislation to enact the statue of you to place somewhere, if not at the police department. This interview has been conducted by Sarcastic Mike, not Michael Comorn. I just wanted to be clear. In any event, different character, different personality for the show. All right, so Eric, any closing thoughts before we wish you well for the remainder of the campaign? You clearly have a grasp on the issues and the traditional legislature that we all have come to love and love.
Right on. Well, guys, thanks for having me on the show. It's always a pleasure coming on the show, and always love you guys. And all that. You know what? Just remember, everyone, that the primary election is a big deal. Let's get out there. Let's vote. Let's encourage everybody we know to get out there and vote. Many of Michigan's leaders are all decided in the primary. So,
and your vote will as well, right? Your primary decides it. Is that right?
Yeah, my primary decides the fate of my race. Exactly.
So that date is when?
August 7th.
And you need money before it's coming up. It's right on the corner. It's late. It's the final stretch.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
In fact, in fact, there's one very, very important person in my life that I respect quite a bit, but has not donated to my campaign yet, and I need to make sure that person gets a donation to my campaign before the election.
Who is that person, Eric?
Someone that despises the current legislative affairs and just politicians in general.
Some random person?
Someone sarcastic.
But who?
All right, enough. I get it. If you would have answered your phone 2 times today, it would have been different that story. Anyways, we love you. We'll chat. Not now.
All right, guys.
Eric,
have a good one. Have a good night.
Brother. All right.
Yep.
All right. Have we had enough? Any final thoughts here, or have we not had enough?
Final thoughts.
All right, Jeff. Anything?
Trump's going down.
Not rooting for him, just reporting a fact. You're saying it's not. We don't take that.
It's fact. It's fact.
I think that's what he did to Putin while they were meeting alone.
You waiting for the Amoroso tell-all?
I maintain that as he's going down, he's going to do something to legalize marijuana. It's going to be his last thing. Like put me in jail, but I'm telling you, I think he's
astounding.
I think he's saving.
So that he gets all these people to come over. We'll enact a statute of him. Like that's what he wants.
We'll do a
statute. That really is what he
wants. Really?
Part of that statute.
You don't do that too early, though. You do that in the middle of 2019, just before the people go to the polls.
I'm saying as they're indicting him, he's signing an executive order as they're dragging. Right?
He's preemptively pardoning all the Kardashians for anything they may do in the future. So
good.
That's fine.
It's good. What would we do without them? I mean, really.
I know. So my final thoughts are, again, obviously August 7th. It was nice coming back to the show today.
Good having you.
Appreciate that. I'm not sure how we're doing, but I'm launching a new magazine. Michael's helping me out with that, too. We have a lot of things going on, but very important.
Volunteers for the food bank on Sunday?
Yeah, I do that, too. There's and the boards and all that stuff. But most importantly, though, be nice to your fellow patients. Everybody that's got a card is sick. The doctor says so. And the people that don't have cards have problems too. There's no reason for you to be a dick. Be nice. That's it.
If they had a card, they wouldn't be such a dick.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think the card imparts that kind of wisdom.
The card does not exclude you from victim.
I am a nice person. I have a medical marijuana card. I don't think that plays.
Jamie Lowell, anything? Any final thoughts from afar?
Well, of course, we start with the primaries coming up here in August, but this year in general, we have an opportunity to really make some significant changes in a few different areas that'll help us out overall. So if you don't like voting typically, if you're turned off by the system, totally understandable. If possible, make an exception this year and really take advantage of the opportunity that's rare that's sitting there for us. Good evening.
And of course, thanks to Gunnels for calling. It was good to have a caller.
All righty.
Yeah.
What about final thoughts from Deb? What do you got?
Well, it's going to follow up to James. It's going to be a huge year. Going to be some big changes, not just for legalization, but we can flip the whole state. We can prevent this shooty thing if we work hard. And everybody's going to have to show up and vote. I mean, that's just it. And you have to show up for this primary. Everybody's got to get out for this primary.
Jim?
Shri is not for me.
I noticed in the review, Rick, your magazine
I like
goes over the candidates that people may want to consider
it is a primary primer.
Yeah.
So, which is kind of a weird thing, but that's why it'll be for all of those folks that register at mcirmagazine.com. You can receive a free copy of the magazine in your post box or an emailed version of the magazine in your e-box, and you'll take a look at that before the primary on the 7th because we'll have it in your hands before August 1.
All righty. I think we've covered it all. And if we didn't, we'll amend later on with a supplemental brief.